my God, you who search the hearts and know the depths of the human soul, you who see in the dark and hear what has never been spoken, I come to you tonight or in this early morning. I no longer know the time, for time has lost its meaning. I come to you because there is nowhere else to go. The walls of my silence are closing in on me, and the air is growing thin. Speaking to you is my last act of desperation, or my first act of a faith I thought had died. I am here to open a door, a single door. The door to a room I locked from the inside so long ago. A room no one in the world knows exists. Only you. You have always known. You were there when I forged the key, when I turned it in the lock for the first time, and you have been here on the other side, through all the days and nights since, while I pretended my house had one less room. My voice trembles just thinking of placing my hand on the knob. My sweat is cold. This is the secret prayer, the prayer that has never been whispered to a pastor, a friend, a spouse, a mother, the prayer that contains the poison and perhaps the only antidote I have left. Guilt, Lord, is a physical thing. The poets try to describe it, but they fail. It is a weight, not a metaphor, a real physical weight. I feel it on my shoulders when I rise in the morning, a pressure that bows my back, that makes me look at the ground. I feel it in my chest, an invisible anvil that keeps my lungs from ever fully expanding. I never take a deep breath, my God. Do you realize that? For years, my breath has been shallow, furtive, the breath of a fugitive, of someone afraid to make a sound and be discovered. I carry this guilt as a pilgrim carries a stone on his back, but my path leads not to a shrine of redemption, only to another day of dissembling. It is in the food I eat, leeching the flavor from everything that should be a pleasure. It is in the music I hear, a low, dissonant note beneath every melody. It is in the smiles I receive, which burn me like hot coals, because I know they are directed at a person who does not exist, at a construction, a facade carefully plastered and painted, while inside, the structure is rotten and eaten away. Oh, the facade. Lord, you know what a master craftsman I have become. My life is my masterpiece of deception. I have learned to smile with my eyes. I have learned to make the right pauses in conversation, to seem reflective and not absent. I have learned to give advice on honesty and integrity, and every word is a whip to my own back. I am the most vehement defender of the truth because I am its greatest traitor. I live in a house of mirrors, but all the mirrors are turned to face the wall, terrified that a careless reflection might show the monster that nests behind my eyes. And the most terrible part is that sometimes I almost convince myself. On good days, I can go for hours having forgotten myself, forgotten that locked door. I laugh, I work, I love in my own imperfect way, and for a brief moment, I feel what it is to be normal, to be free. But the night always comes, and in the silence of my room, I hear the noises from inside that room, the dragging of chains, the lament of a memory, and the locked door becomes the only reality. Everything else, my job, my affections, my reputation, all of it becomes the dream, and my secret becomes my one and only true awakening. What is this guilt, you ask? You who already know the answer. I will not name it yet. My mouth refuses to form the word. It is my great transgression, my turning point. There was the me before, and there is the me after. The one before was naive, perhaps, but he was whole. The one after is fragmented, cunning, perpetually on guard. It was a choice I made, or a series of choices, a moment when my greed or my anger or my pride or my cowardice was stronger than my love for you and for my neighbor. A moment when I silenced your voice in my spirit and listened to the serpent. And after the act came the panic, and the panic gave way to the cover-up, and the cover-up became my new nature. I did not sin and move on. I sinned and built a fortress around my sin to protect it, to hide it. And now I live inside that same fortress, which has become my prison. The walls I raised so that no one would see my sin are the same walls that keep your light from getting in. I am so afraid of you, my God. I read about your grace. I sing about your forgiveness. But when it comes to me, to this secret, I can only imagine your look of revulsion. How could I, who know your law, who have tasted your goodness, have done what I did? I feel like a private Judas, someone who walked with you, who broke bread with you, and then, in the dark, betrayed you. And every Sunday in church, every prayer with my family, every amen I utter, the traitor's kiss. is repeated. I look at the cross and I feel no relief. I feel like one of the soldiers who spat on you, who hammered the nails, because I know what is good and I chose what is evil. And this awareness, this lack of ignorance, makes my guilt 1,000 times heavier. I cannot cry for mercy like one who did not know what he was doing. I knew, oh Father, I knew, and I did it anyway. And it is this knowledge that paralyzes me, that makes me believe your forgiveness is for others, for normal sinners, not for calculating hypocrites like me. And that is why I have never told. How could I? To tell a human being would be to destroy the image they have of me, and that image is all I have left. It is my empty shell. But more than that, it would be to force them to carry a piece of my burden. It would be to stain their vision of me forever. It would be to see the horror, the disappointment, or worse, the pity in their eyes. I could not bear it. It is easier to be a pillar of strength with an interior of dust than to be an honest man in ruins. At least, that's what I thought. But the dust is beginning to seep through the cracks. The energy to maintain the facade is running out. The effort of smiling, of pretending, of lying by silence is sucking the life out of me, and I have reached a breaking point. Either I open this door with you, here in the secret of my room, or this door will rot through and the whole house will collapse on top of me. So here I am, trembling, naked, terrified, before you, the only one who has always known. My prayer, for now, is not even for forgiveness. It is for courage. Courage to keep talking. Courage to put the key in the lock. Courage to face the smell of what has been in there for so long. Stay with me, Lord. Do not let me run away again. Keep me here. This is the beginning of my confession. The first word of a story that has been killing me from the inside out. I stay, Lord. For the first time in a long time, I do not run. With your silent presence as my only witness and my only strength, I turn the imaginary key. Its sound, rusted from disuse, echoes in my soul. The door groans open, the protest of old wood that did not wish to be moved, and the air that comes from within. Oh my God, the smell. It is the smell of the mildew of shame, the smell of the stagnant air of lies, the smell of something that died and was never buried. It is the smell of my own soul in decay. I step into this forbidden room of my memory, and my eyes, unaccustomed to this particular darkness, take a long time to adjust. And what I see is not just the scene of my sin, frozen in time like a horrific photograph. That would be too simple. What I see are the ghosts of what came after. The main ghost that haunts me is that of the me I killed on that day. He is here, leaning in a corner, looking at me with an infinite sadness. The me who was lighter, who could laugh without a bitter subtext, who could look people in the eye without calculating what they might or might not know. The me whose conscience was a quiet lake and not a feverish swamp. I murdered him, Lord, and I dressed myself in his skin, and I have paraded around with his name, but I am an imposter. To live with this secret is to live haunted by who I might have been. The consequences, like the roots of a poisonous tree, have spread through the entire soil of my life. My human relationships are a sham. I love my family, my friends. I love them with an intensity that borders on pain, because my love is inseparable from my betrayal of them. Every hug I give is the hug of a liar. Every I love you I say is spoken by lips that hide the unspeakable. I have become an expert in deflecting conversations, in sensing the danger of a question that gets too close to the truth. I have an internal radar for intimacy, and when it approaches, my defenses go up automatically. I build walls, I give vague answers, I change the subject with a skill that years of practice have given me. And people, in their innocence, perhaps think I am reserved, or complex, or simply private. They do not know that I am in quarantine, that I have isolated myself so as not to contaminate them with my moral disease. And because of this, I am profoundly alone. I can be in a room full of people who love me, but I am inside a glass bubble, and the sound of their laughter comes through distorted, and my smile back at them is just a reflection on the glass. They love the projection, not the man inside the bubble. How could they? They don't even know he exists. And my spiritual life, Father, what a tragic joke. I am an actor on your stage. I know all the jargon, all the moves. I know when to raise my hands during worship, and I raise them, but they feel as if they weigh a ton, the hands that committed the act. I know when to close my eyes in prayer, and I close them, but it is to hide my face from you, not to concentrate. The Bible has become a minefield. I read the stories of David and Bathsheba, Bathsheba, of Peter denying Christ, of Paul persecuting the church, and instead of finding comfort in their redemption, I only find a mirror for my own transgression, but without the courage of their public repentance. The promises of forgiveness seem written in a foreign language, but the verses about judgment, about the tares among the wheat, about the whitewashed tombs, those glow like neon. They feel as if they were written with my name in the margins. And Holy Communion. Lord, communion is my monthly torture. To take the bread, your body broken for me, and I, who am broken by my own guilt, to drink the cup, your blood shed for the remission of sins, and my secret sin screams inside me that I am unworthy, that I am drinking my own damnation. Every time is a battle. A part of me desperately wants to accept what the sacrament means, but the voice of my guilt is louder, hissing, "Hypocrite, you don't belong here. You are mocking his sacrifice." There have been moments, Lord, when the truth almost escaped. I remember a conversation with a friend who, in his wisdom and love, looked at me and said, "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. What's really going on?" And in that second, my heart stopped. The blood froze in my veins. The locked room shook on its foundations. The truth rose in my throat like acid reflux. It was there, on the tip of my tongue. One more second and the dam would have broken. But fear, my old faithful jailer, reacted faster. I forced a laugh. Just the stress of work, you know how it is. And I steered the conversation to some triviality. And my friend, out of respect, let it go. That night I felt two things at once. A hollow, nauseating relief at having escaped, and a wave of self-loathing so intense it nearly choked me. I had been given the chance to be free, and I had chosen my cage. I had disappointed my friend, I had lied to him, and I had reinforced the bars of my own prison. These near misses are the worst, because they show me that the cell door is not locked from the outside. It is I who keeps it shut from within. My guilt is not a passive memory. It is an active presence. It is a voice. It talks to me. When I receive a compliment, it whispers in my ear, "If only they knew." When I make a small daily mistake, it shouts, "You see, it's your nature. You are rotten to the core. This is just more proof." When I try to pray, it says, "Why bother? He isn't listening to you. You're talking to the ceiling." A holy God cannot tolerate the presence of someone like you. It distorts everything. If good things happen, it's proof that I am an imposter who doesn't deserve the blessing. If bad things happen, it's the righteous judgment of God finally beginning to arrive. There is no scenario in which I can find peace. Guilt is a perverse interpreter that stands between me and reality, and it translates everything through its lens of condemnation. It has convinced me that my identity is not child of God, but the man who did that thing. My sin is no longer an act I committed. It has become the definition of who I am. And now, speaking of this with you, here in the darkness, the pain is excruciating. It is like cleaning an infected wound. It hurts more than ignoring it, but I know that ignoring it is certain death. I look at this room, at the ghosts, at the chains, at the dust, and I feel overwhelmed. How can anyone clean this up? How can light enter a place that has been closed for so long? My question to you today is not about the world out there. It's about this disaster in here. What does a man do with a guilt that has become his most intimate companion? What does a man do with a lie that has become his second skin? I don't know how to undress myself of it. I am afraid that if I tear off the skin of the lie, there will be nothing underneath, just a mass of raw, bleeding flesh. I am afraid that my false identity is the only identity I have left. My prayer has changed, Father. It is no longer just for the courage to speak. Now, I am asking you, show me what to do. I have opened the door. I am looking at the horror, and I am paralyzed. Take my hand, please. Take my trembling hand and guide me through my own wreckage. Tell me what the next step is. Even if it's a tiny step, the smallest movement in the direction of the light. I need your direction, because my own moral compass broke a long time ago. My God, my guide, you have not let go of my hand. I asked for the next step, and my human mind, conditioned by fear, immediately conjures the most terrible scenario. Public confession, humiliation, the loss of everything my life of lies has built. My body turns to ice just thinking of it. But perhaps that is not the first step. Perhaps the first step is not outward. but inward, a step deeper into your presence. Before I can even dream of speaking to another human, I must finish speaking with you. I need to learn the language of true confession, because until now, I have only spoken the language of remorse. My suffering has been about me. My pain has been about the weight I carry, about the fear of consequences for me, about the anguish of my soul. It is a selfish suffering, centered on the sinner and not on the God who was offended, and I see that now with a clarity that hurts. What I feel is the pain of a criminal who fears the sentence, not the pain of a son who has broken his father's heart. And so, my prayer now is this: Lord, break my heart, but break it in the right way. Transform this sick remorse into genuine repentance. Take my eyes off myself and place them on you, on your holiness that I have profaned, on your love that I have scorned, on your trust that I have betrayed. I want to weep, not because my life is a hell, but because I have contributed to the darkness of a world that you love. I want to be disgusted by my sin, not just by its punishment. Grant me the gift of holy tears, tears that cleanse, not tears that merely drown me in my own self-pity. With this request, I come face to face with your greatest and most terrifying attribute, your grace. For someone who has lived so long under the law of guilt, under the eye for an eye logic of my own conscience, grace is an alien concept. It is a light too bright for my cavern prisoner's eyes. It is a melody at a frequency that my ears, clogged by the constant ringing of condemnation, can barely pick up. You offer me forgiveness, total, free, unmerited forgiveness, and my first reaction is not relief, it is suspicion. What's the catch? What is the hidden price? My carnal mind, my merchant's soul, cannot process a transaction where I pay nothing. I want to pay, Lord. Oh, how I want to pay. I imagine myself in scenarios of penance, dedicating the rest of my life to good works, to self-flagellation, to an existence of misery to try, somehow, to balance the scales. Because penance, however painful, still keeps me in control. It is my payment plan, my effort to redeem myself. But grace takes all control away from me. Grace forces me to admit my total and absolute bankruptcy. It forces me to extend my empty, filthy hands and simply receive a treasure that I not only do not deserve, but that I have done everything to reject. It is the ultimate act of humility, and my pride, even in tatters, fights against it. It would rather be an honorable debtor trying to pay his debt than a beggar who receives a royal gift. I see the struggle, Lord, the war within me. My guilt screams that grace is cheap, that it's an easy way out that dishonors the gravity of my sin. But your truth whispers that grace is not cheap. It is free to me, but it cost you everything. It cost the blood of your son, and by trying to pay with my miserable works, I am insulting the price he has already paid. I am saying that his sacrifice on the cross was insufficient, that it needs the addition of my penance to be complete. What a terrible blasphemy. Forgive me for that too. Forgive my arrogance in wanting to add my drop of dirty water to the ocean of his purifying blood. So, here, in this moment, I try to do the unthinkable. I try to surrender not to my guilt, which has been my companion, but to your grace, which has been my stranger. I stop fighting. I lay down my weapons, the weapons of self-hatred, self-defense, self-justification, and I give you the thing that most defines me, the thing I have most protected and hated. I give you my secret. I place it on your altar. I don't know how to do this, so I do it with words. I take my guilt, this heavy, dark stone, and I place it in your pierced hands. Take it, Lord. Take it from me. It is not mine. I don't want it anymore. I cannot carry it. I cannot transform it, but you can. You are the God who calls into being the things that do not exist, and who turns tombs into gardens. Transform my guilt into a testimony. Transform my shame into humility. Transform my memory of pain into a memorial of your mercy. I do not know what happens tomorrow. This act of surrender here in the silence does not erase the consequences in the real world. Perhaps your will for me is still confession to other people. Perhaps I still have to face loss, shame, and human judgment. And if that is the path, I ask you for the strength to walk it, no longer as a fugitive, but as a forgiven son who is setting his account straight. But the difference, the crucial difference, is that I will not do it to obtain your forgiveness, but because I have already received it. It will not be an act of penance, but an act of obedience and restoration. It will not be to free myself from my guilt before you, but to free others from my lie. And that changes everything. It changes the motivation, it changes the posture. Let me take this first step, the internal step. First, let this truth of your overwhelming grace settle in my spirit as rain settles on on dry earth. Let it begin to soften the hard ground of my soul. My final prayer for today is for a new identity. For too long, my identity has been the man who did that thing, the keeper of the secret. I ask you, by the power of your resurrection, to rebaptize me. Let my new identity be the one who was forgiven for that thing. Let my story be defined not by my worst chapter, but by the epilogue that you are writing. I am stepping out of this dark room, not healed, not perfect, but forgiven. I step out, holding your hand, still trembling, but with a different kind of trembling. It is no longer the trembling of fear, but the trembling of awe, of overwhelming gratitude. I do not know where we are going, but for the first time, I am not looking back at the locked door, but forward at your face. And even if I only see a glimpse of your light, it is enough to guide me out of my own darkness. My secret prayer has been told. It has been heard, and I trust that it has been welcomed. The secret has lost its power, because the only one I most feared would find out has always known, and yet he stayed and loved me. Amen. Did this prayer resonate with you? Please share, leave a comment, and subscribe for more messages of faith and hope.